Hey guys, for those watching, you can see that we're doing a Zoom call. For those listening, we're going to be talking with Larry and Eric. I'm going to butcher probably both of your last names, so I'm not going to try.
Don't worry about
Don't worry about it.
It's Lyric.
Yeah.
Lyric.
We're interchangeable.
Yeah. I'm really excited to have you guys on the show and to talk about marketing with you, because I think you have quite a few actually different areas that my listeners are really going to want to hear about, and it can really benefit even myself. Like I've learned a little bit from both of you guys with your marketing that you've done, that I need to up my own game, which is not something normal, that I find that I am needing to learn a lot about marketing, and I need to learn a lot from you guys. So why don't you guys just give a quick introduction of who you are and who you're with, and we'll go from there.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, sure. Larry and I are college roommates, so we've been at this for a very long time.
I didn't know
and
that.
Yeah, and we 1986 is when we met, and we were lifting partners in college, and we both had this strong work ethic. Back then it was at the gym, and then when we started our own business, it was there. So Larry and I started a carpet cleaning and water damage restoration business in 2008, right in the midst of the Great Recession.
Yeah, perfect timing.
We had to learn to become good marketers really, really fast, or we weren't going to make it. And we built that business up over the course of, I guess, about 13 years, and sold it roughly a year ago. And now we have a consulting business for blue collar companies that were kind of similar to our own: plumbers, electricians, heating and air conditioning, carpet cleaners. And we teach them marketing and soft skills training for their guys. We have a product called morningtechmeeting.com, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, where it's video training for technicians on how to sell and how to behave in a home and stuff like that. So yeah, Larry and I have been on a long journey to figure this out.
Yeah. No, a lot of what we learned in the beginning, we were like, we got to get something happening here. We got to get business coming through the door. And we joined a group called Piranha Marketing. Joe Polish runs that. And he just taught us, he was very creative and he was very good, but we just learned the basics at that point. We were just grasping onto the basics and grasping onto anything. Yeah. But the biggest thing that we learned was you just have to be consistent. Mm-hmm. If you're consistent with your marketing, whether it's email, whether it's online, whether it's, we used to do it in the newspaper. We had flyers in the newspaper, and that worked wonderfully. And the more consistent we were at it, it worked great. And then we got another coach, Howard Partridge, and he helped us out with other things, systems, and operations.
And he upped our referral marketing game, the door-to-door stuff.
Referral marketing, that was the biggest thing that we learned. And there was a guy we had on our podcast, Jim Bardwell, and I tried to model him a lot. And I'm out being the face of many things, but Eric and I are behind the scenes figuring out a strategy, how to market all the time. Mm-hmm. And, you come up with crazy ideas. People are expecting crazy ideas out of us. I mean, our biggest flyer that we got probably maybe the most business consistently with was "We suck." And it would say at the bottom that the moisture out of your carpets.
Yeah. So in 2009, Larry and I had this big carpet cleaning truck, like the biggest one you could get, because we thought, well, if we get the biggest truck, we'll at least stand out with that. Yeah. But people didn't really understand what it meant, that, we could suck more water. And at the time, every Sunday we were doing a pink 8.5 by 11 flyer in the Sunday newspaper, double-sided, saying, it would send them to like a pre-recorded message so that they wouldn't have to be nervous to call us. And we'd have a pre-recording saying, these are the 8 things we do. And it really wasn't working. I got super frustrated one night, and just in huge, 95 block letters across the top, I just wrote, "We suck.
We suck. We suck."
With the subtitle, "The moisture out of your carpets." And literally the next Monday morning, our phone was ringing off the hook. And it got to the point where everybody in town knew Larry and I back in those days as the "We Suck" guys. And we'd be out like at the truck during a job, and cars would kind of slow down and roll the window down and yell, "You guys suck!" And we'd say, "Yeah, we do." So
we get a couple haters sending us emails over the years,
yeah,
just haters saying how inappropriate it was, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
If nobody hates you, you're not marketing.
Yeah,
yeah,
please everybody.
It's the polarization, right? You either people have to love you or they have to hate you. Like that's like seems to be the thing. I'm sure everybody would love to be on the love side, but
well, Josiah, the thing too was that whole "we suck" thing was just born out of pure frustration and desperation. We weren't getting the result we wanted. But after that, we learned that to a degree, the more outrageous we were, the more work we would get. And then we started really amping that up over the years.
We had this one after that we were doing for a while was Size Matters.
Size Matters. And then I had a picture of like an old lady who looked really mean.
Oh yeah, this one people didn't like.
Can your house pass the mother-in-law test?
Oh, that worked real well.
And I used to just send that out at holidays because everybody's mother-in-law is coming.
Oh,
and I would
man.
have mother-in-laws everywhere writing me saying, how
this
dare
is inappropriate.
You say that about me? But you know
My
what?
Mother-in-law's great.
But you know what,
funny.
Josiah? Phone was ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just took the good with the bad, and Larry and I would have a chuckle and move on.
Yeah.
We used to do videos where I'd always end every video pushing Larry into a swimming pool somewhere.
They're still all over the place. He just wailed into me one time. I was horizontal in the air, my feet and my head flying through the air. And we had the hotel manager. He has a cough button. He doesn't seem to want to use it. You got a cough button there, buddy. He's not even. So anyway, we got this hotel manager. We got this hotel manager, and he was taking a video of us, and he didn't know what he was doing. We were just making a joke, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Eric would hit me, and I'd fly into the pool. And the hotel manager almost dropped the phone because he didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't prep him. So we've got a killer. You can see it on the Shamrock YouTube channel. It's still there. It's hysterical. It's thousands of hits.
Dude, you said that right when I was taking a drink of water. Spit it all out. Sorry.
Oh, and that's what it was. We said you can't drink by the pool. So I was faking like I was drinking. And Eric goes, "Don't drink by the pool." And he literally hit me like a linebacker, and I went flying sideways. Yeah. Thank goodness. And then we did like 4 or 5 outtakes of me just soaking wet, him just throwing me in the pool constantly.
But it worked.
It worked. I mean, look, I just snarfed out all my water. It still worked. Like, this is just I think the thing was, Josiah, in the early days, Larry and I tried to be businesslike, and it was bland. And then when we let our real relationship show, because I would push Larry in the pool anyway. We don't have to be marketing. So I think it resonated that we were just being ourselves.
Yep.
We lost you a little bit there. What were you saying?
Sorry, I was just saying that, I would have been the guy pushing Larry in the swimming pool anyway, regardless if we were filming or not. So what it really showed was that Larry and I were just being authentically ourselves. Like once we started not like playing business and we just started being ourselves, our marketing started to take off.
Yeah, I've talked about this on the podcast, and on Fridays I do a live Q&A during this time. People can get on and just randomly ask me questions on Instagram. And the thing that keeps coming up more than anything is humans are walking lie detectors. We can tell when somebody's full of BS. And the more authentic you are, regardless if you're a super serious person, then be super serious. If you're I don't know if you've gotten Andrew from Crystal Clear Imaging. Have you gotten his emails?
Oh, yeah. Aaron,
yeah, sorry. I'm doing those emails for him, and we're just talking and finding his sense of humor. And he is
a funny guy.
He's super funny, and I'm helping that come out in a professional way. But he's just telling me he gets phone calls left and right because people love it. But he also gets people, like you said, who just absolutely hate it, who find it like what are you
You're
guys
gonna
doing?
run across it.
But he's
Dude,
authentic.
You can't please everybody, so don't even bother trying.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Agreed.
it'd be
Find your
too much
tribe,
energy.
the people that
Yeah.
like you, you know?
Yeah. That's a good transition talking about emails. I think the first time where I realized that I needed to up my game was when you told me how many emails you had in your email list. Why don't you tell the audience, you're a medium-sized business, right?
Small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's even more impressive. All right. Hit everybody.
Larry, unveil.
Well, the whole thing is when, we did a lot of chambers. We remember at one point we were members of 5 chambers. So when you go to a chamber meeting, you just get cards, and then you go home and this is the thing, you get somebody's card, however you're networking.
Hold on. We have, depending on when, we had 12 to 14,000 emails in our list.
Well, no, hang on. So this is what I do is I get the whole list from the whole chamber, and I download the whole list. And if they wouldn't let me download it, I'd get my man in India and pay him $10 an hour. And he'd go and collect the email addresses from every business. He'd go to everybody's website.
Yep.
And then every time I would send a blast out to whatever 1,000, you'd always get like 30 or 40 that would say, if you can't contact me, contact this person. So I'd cut and paste it and I put it into it. And I might have been breaking rules at the time, but we didn't have a huge opt-out.
Because if you're a member of a chamber, they give you the list, and
That's
we
correct.
were always members in good standing. It's not like we joined for 2 weeks and quit and bailed.
Yeah. The general rule is if you're part of that database for chambers, then yes, you can use them. And if the laws have changed over the years, but if someone gives you their card, they're granting you permission to email them.
Yeah.
As long as you have retention of that, and nobody's really going to email or file a lawsuit against you if you add them to a list. They'll unsubscribe. They might be annoyed by you, but you're not breaking any laws in that respect.
And the other thing is we used Infusionsoft back in the day. We were kind of early-ish adopters to Infusionsoft. So they had an app where we could just click every card. Larry and I would go to chambers.
It wasn't that. It would scan it in and I'd put a tag on it and would send them an email. Hey, it was great to meet you. Let's hook up. And 50% of the time people reply back, oh, it was great to meet you too. All of a sudden you have a little bit of a connection. All of a sudden they're going to open your emails, and all of a sudden they're going to refer you. And it was like that. It was
and the thing is too, it stood out, Larry, because what you would do is meet them, say at a chamber meeting. By the time they got to their car in the parking lot, boom, there's an email. Hey, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Like, wow, these guys are Johnny on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just it's a system. You have to create a system. So every day or every morning, I'd have a couple cards. Think of it. If I got 10 cards a week times 50 weeks a year over the years, that would be on the low end. And everybody I'd meet, and then I'd get, if somebody sends me an email with a whole bunch of other people attached, I'd say, hey, I'm going to send you guys an email. And if somebody said, don't bother, I wouldn't do it, but I'd just boom, 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 put them on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been following a lot of those practices that you've told me. Got a drawer here filled with business cards.
Yep, you got to put them in there. You got to put
I
them
went
in.
through and
Larry's entire desk, Josiah, would be business cards.
Yeah, it's
unreal.
I think I'm up to 400, but it's been like
look at my desk right now.
3 months. Oh yeah, there you go. 3 months and building up that email list. But same thing with the chambers and everything else. I'm just trying to build it up, following those best practices that you're talking about. Just even if it's not in the morning. I'm doing it, once a month where I just sit down and, just manually just do it each time.
Yeah. You don't have to put the address and everything in. You just put the email, the name in, and you go. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say that, one of the keys, and look, I probably worked against you more than with you on this. Larry was militant about getting email addresses. So when my guys would get, because I'm the ops guy, I'm sending guys in the field. The next morning, the first thing he's doing is walking around to each guy saying, give me the email address of the 3 houses that you were at yesterday. Give me the 3, give me your 3. Technicians don't like getting email addresses, right?
No, and I would grind them.
And he would grind them to the point where he would make them call back and get the email address. Okay. But you know what, Josiah? And I used to fight Larry on that because I'd be like, will you let my guys do their job and then you figure out the marketing? But in the end, he was right, because that's the person that they're getting a relationship with because he was in the house. So that was a big part of us building up such a big list. And it was and it's a good list because it comes right from the client saying, here's my personal email.
And those were our most successful campaigns and our most lucrative repeat business. I mean, if you stay in touch with them, I mean, you're going to put a magnet on their fridge. Yeah, that's cool. But email them is a different way. You know, some people react to different things, and you send them an email once a week. And that's pretty much what we did, maybe twice a week. And that's what we're doing now. We usually hit twice a week, once a podcast and once with some content.
Yeah, I had Jason Flores on here, and one of the big things he was talking about that was really critical for his organization, it sounds like you guys figured it out too, is really getting the whole team involved with everything. Like, you're not just service, you're service and assisting marketing. Like, everybody, each hand feeds each other. If marketing doesn't have those emails, then you get no more business, so you can't service anybody. So collaborating between all the departments is critical.
And what you're saying, the guys in the field would get videos and pictures and send them to me. Like, oh, cool. Well, I'm just going to send this out.
You know, Josiah, we had a company culture that Larry and I started really early on and every guy knew this because we talk about it all the time. We were a marketing company who happened to do cleaning and restoration.
Yep.
Marketing comes first because with no marketing, there's no work. So every person in our company was a marketer. On some way, some form. And we literally beat that concept into everybody every single day.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I did bids, right? So I'm the guy doing bids a lot. So I'd be going house after house, week after week, month after month, year after year. I can't tell you how many houses I'd go and they'd say, yeah, I used to have a really great carpet cleaner. I lost his phone number, or I don't remember his name. And I would come back and be like, guys, that is never going to be us.
So that I'd be yelling at Eric until he finally figured this out. I'm like, where's the email address? Because I'd see the bid sheet back and it would be blank. There's a field here. Did you put their name there? There's an email address field. Put the email address in the field.
I'll be the first to admit I was slow to adopt. I mean, I wanted to market, but when I was out in the field, I wanted to do work. And I wasn't thinking about that. And it took a mindset shift for me to get on Larry's program, but I'm glad we did, obviously.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're sending out like 2 emails a week for 2 different.
Well, that's now. Back in the day, we used to just send every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
And then we did a hard copy newsletter once a month for the people who don't really read email, that they could have something to read on the bathroom.
Interesting. So are you doing A/B testing with it? I ever heard you talking about that one time, Larry. How have you gained that experience, or what have you tried, or what things have worked for you with that?
We tried that once with a couple emails, and actually just the other day I sent, within the last week or two, I've been sending the email the next day to the people that don't open it. Yeah. And
that's a work in progress for us, don't you think, Larry?
Yeah.
Josiah, that's next level, but it's definitely on our radar to start doing that.
Yeah, one of the things that I really appreciate about you as well is your email blast that goes out for brewery night. It's become one of those things I actually look forward to. There's not many networking things that you generally, you're like, yeah, I can't wait to go to that. It's a blast. Your brewery nights are one of those things, and why don't you talk about that a little bit and share?
That's hysterical.
It's a great.
Larry, let me tell this. Larry, let me tell this.
Go ahead. Good.
So Larry said to me, we're marketing on normal stuff. He just comes to me out of the blue one day and he said, I want to start doing a drinking night and inviting everybody. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then Larry's point was, look, I want to go hang out with my friends. I'm going to go out every Wednesday. And it's going to make me go out and see people. Larry's very social. And I'm thinking, like, how's that going to grow our business? So he started doing it. And then every Thursday morning, my assistant would come to me with, look how much Larry spent on drinking night last night, right? And all I'm seeing, Josiah, is black and white. $78, $120, $30, like week after week after week. And finally I said, Larry, enough of this. Like, you can't prove that you're bringing in any business from the time that you're taking to do it or the money that you're spending. And Larry, kind of was like, just give me, another month or whatever. And just by chance, I started going around to our referral sources or vendors, and people are like, hey, dude, I'm going to make it one of these weeks, I swear. And I'd be like, make it to what? What are you talking? Because I didn't go to drinking night. I was always at the shop,
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, drinking night, I'm going to make it there one of these days. And then what I realized was this tiny little fraction of people actually ever went. But Larry got our name in front of all these people who really had intentions of going. It ended up being like one of the best marketing things we ever did. A little bit hard to track,
Right.
but really, really effective.
Yeah, I think people don't really understand how influential just spending time socializing, like it creates that bond of trust, right? And then if they may not be your customer, which comes into the difficult place to track, but they know somebody that they're like, no, go check out this guy, you got to go talk to him for XYZ.
Yep.
And I think that combination of the two, it does make it difficult to track. It's hard to justify the amount sometimes, but then as time goes on, and as you mentioned earlier, the consistency of keeping it the same day every week. Even now during this time, you guys have been doing it with Zoom calls, which is
That's
phenomenal.
hysterical. We have fun. Yeah, obviously you were there the other day. It was fun.
Yeah.
The book I read that I got the idea, Never Eat Alone, Keith Ferrazzi, he had all kinds of great ideas. And he would go to his house, invite people to his house, and they'd have spaghetti or something else and then wine. And that was his idea. And I'm like, I wouldn't mind bringing people to the house, but I don't think that, and I was just wrestling with it. I'm like, it'd be nice to go out to breweries.
Yeah.
And that was, I said, I'm going to go out anyway. This will make it my night out.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, you could see the pictures because I take a picture every night, as you know, and then it goes on the next week. So I've got like hundreds of pictures.
Mm-hmm.
In the early, it was only like 2 or 3 of us. Actually, twice it was me sitting alone. And thank goodness, because I didn't want to talk to anybody those 2 nights. I brought it on. And it was raining. And I remember I was sitting at Hamilton's Brewery. I'm like, I hope nobody comes. And I had 2 beers. I was happy as could be. And then one other night, I was on the phone the whole night. We had so many calls. Usually I can hang up the phone or forward everything to Eric, but it's a consistency thing.
Yeah.
If you're consistent with it, after like 6 months, it was a regular people coming and different. You'll get different, you see it. There's different people that come all the time. You have your select few that come every time, but there's always a nice mix of extra people.
Yeah, and you make it free too. That's another thing that most networking things don't do. Like, granted, you have to spend the money on the beer, but I've actually added it into. I've gotten business from it myself just by participating with it. I think that by keeping it free, you're keeping it accessible versus charging a fee for like this being a part of this group. Like, a lot of people want to capitalize on that, and they don't look at the larger picture of how it can benefit their business.
Well, it's practice networking. How many times you go to a chamber in the morning or the evening and it's a little bit uptight? Not, it's not as, but if you have a beer in your hand, you're hanging out, all of a sudden that veil of comfort comes down and it's easier to create conversation, to open up, to be vulnerable.
The workday's over and people are more open than at 7 a.m. when they're thinking about the 900 things they need to do as soon as they get out of that meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're all looking for our tribe, right? And when you're drinking and your guard is down and you realize like this is their authentic self, and you don't smell that BS that normal formal environment produces.
Getting sold.
Yeah, like oh, someone's trying to sell me. You can smell it, and you're like, no, I don't like it. But during those events, you're finding your tribe. You're all talking. You're relaxed. You realize who they really are, and not only networking, but you also create friends. So.
Absolutely.
Smart. Great strategy. I really like your whole blue collar idea. It's not something that my business personally needs, obviously, but I love the concept behind it and what you guys are doing with that and how you're growing it. Can you share a little bit more about that for our listeners?
Yeah, it's
Sure.
there's not any, but it's a need. We mimicked what we did in our business. We had a cleaning and restoration business, blue collar workers, blue collar service business, and there was a paradigm shift. Eric went to a John Maxwell training. He came back and he tried teaching these guys these concepts. And that wasn't where the shift happened. The shift happened afterwards when they didn't get it. He was teaching them concepts that were trained to the people in the John Maxwell audience. All of a sudden, one day he goes, you know what? I need to teach them totally different concepts, the same style.
Well, the
How would you
same
phrase it?
concept, but no. So what was happening is, I went and got John Maxwell certified, got all this leadership training, and
Just
I
retell
came.
my story. It's all
No,
good.
no, hold
Or
on.
your story.
Yeah, your story's no good. And so I came back and I tried to teach it like they taught me how to teach it. But the John Maxwell stuff is really geared to more business owners, higher level managers. And my guys it was just going flying over their head. Not because they weren't smart. My guys were totally smart, but it wasn't in the language that they understood.
Yep.
So I started taking the same concepts from those lessons, but then putting them completely in a blue collar way or a blue collar
That's where the
spin.
shift happened.
And
That's when the
in their
difference happened.
language, which, look, I'm a technician at heart. I speak their language. I wasn't doing that because I was just teaching them how I was taught to teach it. As soon as I started teaching it how I really am,
Mm-hmm.
light bulb went on. Next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
way more 5-star reviews, upsells go way up, callbacks go way down, breakages go down, culture improves because I'm giving them all this great leadership training and personal development training, but it's on their terms in the way that they want to hear it. So when we
And
sold,
how many
yeah, go ahead.
No, how many guys at that level are getting personal development training? Are getting any concepts, how to believe in themselves, how to raise their self-confidence, how to, think to the future, think for better for their world. And that's where the value came in for these guys. Oh, I can do all these things and they will be so much better for me.
Well, we were investing in them.
Yeah.
If people are investing in you, you want to do a good job for them. You don't want to leave and go somewhere else for $1 more an hour. You're getting more than the value of that. The other thing, Josiah, that is really what started all of this for Larry and I. Think about who came and worked for us. Mostly 23-year-old kid, didn't like school, wasn't going to go to college, probably pretty good with his hands, and probably, honestly, not the greatest home life, not a lot of life training, and a lot of people telling him or her that they weren't really worth all that much, right? Nothing could have been further from the truth. They just hadn't found somebody to believe in them yet. So all of a sudden, Larry and I start pouring everything that we've learned in life into them. What are they going to do? They're going to flourish. And, you can't send a couple 22-year-olds with no life skills to a multi-million-dollar house to manage a water damage job. It doesn't work. You can't scale your business that way because that means that then I would have to go stand at every job, meaning we could only do one job at a time. Can't grow a business like that. So I had to get them trained up so that then we could scale. But nobody does. And the reason we started this business because people aren't doing this. Other businesses just send the 22-year-olds and go, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I actually come from a blue collar family. My dad owned a construction company, and it was no summer breaks. You went to the job site. You had to learn how to interact with customers, and he was very strict and diligent in teaching me and my brothers, and even some of my high school friends came and worked for him, and many of them made careers out of the skills that they learned from him. And it was very much like the place looks the same way when you walk in and when you leave. Like
Exactly.
you're immaculate. Yes, ma'am. No, no, sir. You know, there was protocols and behaviors and processes and you know, ways we could behave, but it was all taught. It was things that we, you know, they didn't teach us in school. They didn't, you know, and many of my friends didn't even know from their home life.
Right. Well, and the bottom line, we're talking about marketing with you. That's marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you get your
Totally.
referrals, and that's how you get your 5-star reviews and your good reputation.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the whole process. It's the beginning from the first moment they hear about you, all the way till you know, they can't use your services anymore, depending on where that is in their lifespan, because referrals and sending their kids to you, it's things like that. It's never really done. It's just a constant from every aspect, from HR, payable, to operations, the actual service team, and the whole thing is marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Yep.
all interconnected. So where do you guys see blue collar going? What are your ambitions with blue collar?
Well, there's a huge influx in blue collar workers right now. There's not a lot of them coming up. And we keep running across that with different guests we have on our podcasts. We interviewed a guy today, Josh Zolan, who wrote a book, Blue is the New White. And it just goes through that you've got to take care of your guys. You got to train them. You got to take care of them. You got to care about them. You got to love on them, pretty much. That's what Howard was saying. And you've got to keep your guys and train them and care about them. Train them in the technical and the soft skills and the life skills. Soft and life skills are together, but it's not just technical training. You can't just teach them to turn a wrench. And the value in that is huge. So we want to go to high schools and talk to high schools. We want to talk to colleges and trade schools. We want to talk to any organization that we possibly can to push the soft skill training message, pretty much.
And
we
I
talk
think
to
long-term, Larry, too, I think Larry and I would like to get to the point where we're basically creating a program to certify young people in these soft skills so that they already have that before they ever reach the workforce, so that it's something of value to say, well, I went through this program already.
Yeah,
That's going to make you more attractive to be hired by a good blue collar service business if you
Yeah.
already have those training skills.
yeah. I mean, I like that. Blue is the new white. The mentality, because people just, I think they're starting to get the idea of how much plumbers and these stereotypically blue collar jobs, how much money they can truly make, and potentially even be their own business owners one day. It's just not really taught in schools. The road is always to college, and although I went to college, sometimes I regret it.
So do we. So did we. And I really wish, I've said this on other podcasts, I was that kid that would have really excelled at trades, like vocational training as a high school student. But back in the 80s, and it's dating me, that's where the burnouts went. And I was an athlete, and my guidance counselor would be like, I actually asked about it. And he's like, you don't want to go over there and turn wrenches. And, but I didn't like sitting in class. It was boring to me.
Mhm.
And, I think I could have been on this road a lot earlier if somebody had come with a book like Josh Zolan's Blue is the New White and I read it. I mean, to give an example of how well somebody could do, we recently had John Okoyan from Rooter Hero in Los Angeles on the show, on our podcast, Blue Collar Nation podcast.
smart guy.
And John has built, I think he has around 250 plumbing trucks.
Yep.
What
He's
he
got like
does is
7 or 8 locations all around LA.
he has what they call channel leaders. And these channel leaders and they're not all plumbers. Sometimes they're guys like you or I. And what they do is they sell, they motivate a team of about a half a dozen plumbers, and they make sure the customer's happy. So they're almost like a project manager for like a half a dozen guys. His best channel leaders are making $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 a year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They're
They're
plumbers,
making
bro.
really good money. And they're
Wow.
so a couple of them are millionaires. I mean, they're making that much money.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't tell me that you can't make any money in blue collar world.
No,
You know,
absolutely not. It's ridiculous.
now, not everybody is going to have the skill set to be a channel leader. I get that.
Right.
But you know what? The guys working for the channel leader are still making a lot of money.
Yeah. But I think the thing that's really not understood is the ability to make that money, even up to 70, 80 a year, right? But zero college debt, maybe a few certifications that you pay off quickly. Like, the reality is that the advantage of how quickly you can get to that kind of salary and then stay at it and not have a long-term debt, I think it's underappreciated.
Yeah, or even go straight into an apprenticeship program at like a plumbing or a heating and air conditioning company. Then you have no debt. Yeah, you might not make much money for 2 or 3 years while you're being an apprentice. You're learning a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a demand for your job. If you get into a white collar position, you could, peak out. And if you lose your job and there's nothing else around, there's always going to be a job in the blue collar field if you're that good at it and you've been doing it that long.
I mean, also look at what just happened.
Yeah.
The state of California essentially gets shut down. Who are the essential workers? Plumbers, electricians, heating and air conditioning guys, water damage, even carpet cleaning. It took a couple weeks. They became essential as well. I'm not saying nobody in the trades lost their job. I'm not saying that at all. But those are generally always going to be essential services, and it's going to be very hard to not have work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safe route in many ways. It's not an easy route. It's hard work. Can't be afraid of hard work.
For sure. I guess last question, advice for people marketing during these times. Like, what strategies are you doing? What would you recommend to people?
More. Yeah. Larry and I, when this started going down, I don't know if you know, Josiah, I have a bunch of respiratory issues from being exposed to mold as a water damage contractor all those years. So I was in California, and Larry's like, go home to Utah and sequester yourself. There's very few cases up there. So I've been basically sitting up on a mountain for 3 weeks. And then before I left, I looked at Larry and I said, let's do a podcast every single day. Like, this is, the crap's going to hit the fan. So let's start podcasting, mini podcasts every single day. And then doing everything we can to be helpful, right? I mean, we're not getting anything out of podcasting every day other than we're trying to help everybody. But what we do get in return in the long run is this is a time to make a name for yourself. I mean, this is no different than Larry and I knocking doors all day long in 2008. It's the same thing. So when I say more, I really mean more. Like, don't sit there and go, oh, I'm paralyzed in fear. I don't know what to do. I don't know if this is going to work out. I mean, look, dude, it might not work out, but you're still going to feel better if you bust your butt all day long trying to make something happen. Yeah. And what we learned was we didn't reap the benefit in 2008 of the marketing that we did in 2008 because not a lot was happening. But in 2009, 2010, 2015, we were still reaping the benefit of that huge amount of work we put in when things were awful.
Yeah. I think that social equity keeps coming up. For those who don't have services that they can't sell right now, that they can't do deliverables or things like that, or they're not an essential industry. The doing that social equity, if you can't sell anything, if you can't deliver or do anything like that, is sell something online, then the thing you have to do is social equity. You have to build your community and you have to grow. That's why I started the Friday live calls or Instagram lives that people can come in and ask whatever question they want. My general role, and it's always been my role, is, and Larry knows, I'm give away information. You only pay me when I do work. Like, you want to try to do it yourself, or you need to know like a strategy or best tips, I give it away. And that's that, like you said, building that social equity.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the guys this morning was talking about now is the time to connect with everybody on an emotional level, because everybody's more emotional than they were. So if you can connect on an emotional level, it's more valuable. And that,
absolutely.
Giving away information, like you're saying, is a totally valuable connection that you can make.
Well,
Absolutely.
Larry and I, we had mentioned earlier Howard Partridge, who was our coach and mentor for many years. And Howard had a coach named Rick Jones who owned a Dale Carnegie franchise in Houston. And he had told Larry one day, when 2008 happened and all of a sudden none of these businesses are investing in coaching anymore, he doubled down and just started giving his services away. He's like, if I just give them it now, when things get better, they're going to remember that I did a good deed and that I was there for them. And then his business blew up after that.
Wow.
Because, he had time. He didn't necessarily have clients, but he had time. And he was wise enough to say, well, while I'm trying to hold on, I'll just give information. I'll help people.
Yeah.
And that came back to him completely. As soon as people started having money in their pockets, his classes started filling up like crazy. He was a go-to guy.
It's the classic Zig Ziglar saying, if you give enough people what it is that they want, you'll always have enough of what it is that you want.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's definitely something for me to consider. Maybe start giving away some services to think about that. That's good. So how can people find you guys? What opportunity to let people know?
Well, there's two places. You go to morningtechmeeting.com and see all our information there. And then you could listen to our podcast, Blue Collar Nation.
Yeah, you can find that on iTunes or SoundCloud or Stitcher or whatever.
Buzzsprout.
And then our little mini ones, Josiah, we're actually, doing these kind of 15-minute with blue collar experts and not all blue collar experts, just business people in general. They're on Facebook every morning on my actual feed, Eric Sprague.
Yeah, Eric Sprague. He's on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
That's it.
Right on. Yeah, Josiah, this is really cool. I'm glad you invited us on. This is nice.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks
this.
for coming on. Yeah, I really appreciate, and I'm still learning things from you guys. It's really exciting to see business owners who understand marketing and have really taken their specific niche to the far end of the extreme. I think that's a real testament to both of your guys' just ability to work with each other and trial and error and just working through it. I'm really impressed.
Well, you know what? I wanted to give you a compliments as well, because sitting with you when we go out and we have these drinks and, we get there early sometimes, we hang out and we share, you're very dialed and you see what's going on in the world. When we talk about social media, you can see things that I can't see, and it's cool. And your expertise comes through and you bring things up all the time. And it's not just me. Other people say, oh, where's Josiah? I got a question about social marketing and social anything.
Yeah.
And they always want to get with you, and it's good. And
Appreciate
you're throwing things out there, and these aren't like, you're an expert in your field. You know this off the top of your head. We can all research and look it up, but you've got it right there and you could help, and that's totally valuable.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate that.
Keep it up. It's very cool.
Well, if I can help you guys in any way, just let me know. I got you guys.
Bada bing.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
See you, Josiah. Have a great day, man.
You too. Bye, guys.